Ladies and gentlemen, I must respond to external factors. Firstly, I must object to the statements of Ukrainian President Zelensky, who seem to threaten what might happen during the celebrations of the victory over fascism on May 9th in the Russian Federation. This is unprecedented. To me, it's simply laughable, as if Mr. Zelensky is sending us a message. I'm a small player, it's not about me. And he's sending messages to the Chinese president, to the Brazilian president, to presidents and heads of state and prime ministers from countries with hundreds of millions of inhabitants, saying, don't go there. Beware, because we, Ukraine, will do something to you. That's not how it's done. I reject such threats in the name of security. I fully respect that the security of the participants is an internal matter of the Russian Federation. But likewise, if Mr. Zelensky believes that his outcries will result in foreign delegations not attending, he is gravely mistaken. However, I had to object to such a manner of expression. I am very sorry that Mr. Zelensky and others are mixing the past with the present. For heaven's sake, it was also Ukrainian soldiers who were dying from 1941 to 45 and were dying en masse in the Second World War. On the contrary, it was necessary to accept the proposal for mediation regarding the celebration of the 80th anniversary, and at the very least, if not, to congratulate each other on the end of the Second World War, then to remain silent. It is a great disrespect if someone in a country that had the greatest contribution to the victory over fascism and suffered the absolutely greatest sacrifices imaginable is sending a message. Well, go ahead and celebrate. We might just throw a little drone or something similar your way. These are unacceptable things for me. I will not mix modern politics with what happened in the years 1941 to 45. Otherwise, I would have to look at the war in Iraq, the war in Afghanistan, and that would prevent them from doing anything at all in international politics. As for my participation, I know there's a huge fuss about it. I would recommend to Mrs. Kalashova, and others to focus on more serious issues than whether I will or will not attend the 80th anniversary celebrations. I'm simply going to the 80th anniversary celebrations. But I will also tell you some amusing stories about how some European Union member countries don't want to allow the government plane to fly over. These are embarrassing matters. It's embarrassing. If you want to fly over the territory of the European Union to somewhere and they tell you no, you cannot fly over us. Can you imagine what I'm talking about now? Where have we ended up in terms of international relations? I will allow myself to say 2 sentences regarding the internal matter in Ukraine, and that is the agreement on the use of mineral resources, which was officially signed in only one version. But it seems that there are 3 agreements that discuss the implementation of the basic agreement and the conditions. The agreement between the United States and Ukraine is a matter for the Ukrainian leadership. What kind of treaty? The Ukrainian leadership signs or does not sign, it is their natural resources. It's none of our business. I just want to remind you that similar treaties have already been signed with the devil. If Slovakia strategically controlled power plants, gas companies, and everything today, we would live completely differently. So this treaty, which is signed between the United States and Ukraine, is exactly the same kind of treaty that someone makes to achieve a certain goal. And let Mr. Zelensky burst with anger now. I know why he signed it. Mr. Zelensky bought himself a war. Mr. Zelensky is very keen on continuing the war and thinks that with this treaty, if he signed it, it's as if he has subdued the United States in peace efforts, which American President Trump made so clear from the first day of his office. It's their decision. But in my opinion, this treaty, ladies and gentlemen, This treaty, you know, as my words often come, means that the war continues and can last for a very, very long time, and may also lead to an escalation of tensions. And therefore, I regret that at least such a small offer, like a ceasefire, from the 8th to, let's say, the 11th of May, on the occasion of the celebrations, which was proposed by the Russian administration, was not respected. I would like to remind you that this is a war in which people are dying, and it is a war that I, unlike your newspaper, unlike many opposition politicians, have been rejecting from the first day. I have been rejecting it from the first day, and from the first day, I have been calling for peace negotiations to begin. Already in April 2022, when this war began, there were peace agreements on the table, which Ukraine, however, did not sign under the pressure of Western allies, because they thought this war would serve to weaken the Russian Federation. I will not get into a dispute with you now, but I would have to ask, did you write about Odessa from May 2nd, 2014? When they let 42 people burn in the trade union's house without those pro-Russian sympathizers? It is important to know what happened in the years 41 to 45. And that is my mental equipment. I simply consider it important, as we will do on the 8th here in Slovakia, because in Pestany there is an official celebration of the end of the Second World War to express respect and honor to the nation and to the countries that played a decisive role in the defeat of fascism. The war was the subject of my almost 2-hour conversation with President Putin during my visit in December, and it still is. We constantly encourage and speak about it as we did when we were in the United States. If you take my speech at the CPAC conference, I will always repeat it over and over. This war must end as quickly as possible. So, if the biggest problem again is that I am supposed to go somewhere to commemorate the 80th anniversary of the end of the Second World War, where other world leaders will also be present, and you do not consider the Chinese president, the Brazilian president, and many others as significant representatives of this world, then that is your opinion. I have a different opinion on that. I think we are having a completely unnecessary discussion right now. I am going to commemorate and pay respect and honor to the nation that played a decisive role in defeating Hitler from 1941 to 1945. The nation that suffered the most, suffered the most. I will repeat to you the words of the soldier from the 1st Czechoslovak Army Corps, Sloboda, who said, "I walked hundreds of kilometers on Russian soil and saw Russian children impaled on iron fences and thrown into wells. So I have respect for what happened and for those who paid the price for it.